Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Sports Legends of the Carolinas. I'm your host, Scott Fowler, sports columnist for the Charlotte Observer, where I've worked since 1994. And as always in this podcast, I'm traveling across the Carolinas, seeking out some of my very favorite sports legends and asking them to tell the stories behind their rise to iconic status. For this episode, we took a summertime drive to Chapel Hill, home of the University of North Carolina, and we got to sit inside the office of Mack Brown, who is in his second stint as the Tar Heels head football coach.
What do you tell people, recruits, et cetera, when they ask you the retirement question now?
It gets asked before they say hello now.
Now 72, Brown returned to Chapel Hill in November 2018, lured back to save a football program that had gone awry. The Tar Heels have played in a bowl game in each of the past 5 years since Brown's return, although by his own admission, they haven't won as many games as he's wanted them to. In between his two stints at UNC, Brown won a national championship at Texas in 2005, edging Southern Cal for the title in what is often referred to as the greatest college football game ever played. With 282 wins at college football's top level, Brown now ranks as college football's winningest active coach. He entered college football's Hall of Fame in 2018, and he'll be 73 years old by the time the Tar Heels kick off this season at Minnesota on Thursday, August 29th.
Coach Brown, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Scott.
It's a real pleasure to be here with you today, and with all your experience, I wanted to start with a big picture question. So your first job was Appalachian State in 1983, so that's 40 plus years ago now. What, to you, where has college football changed the most?
Scott, I think college football's changed more in the last 3 years than my first 47. And when we left amateurism and went to name, image, and likeness, where players can make money, there's so many positive things with it, but it's a huge change. I mean, we can talk about the change in early signing day. None of it touches what the combination of name, image, and likeness and transfer portal at the same time are happening. And then you talk about realignment from losing the Pac-12.
Yeah.
I mean, in our lifetime, none of us would ever dream that UCLA and USC would be in the Big Ten, right, and there wouldn't be a Pac-12. So I think name, image, and likeness, transfer portal, and realignment have probably been the three biggest changes in my career, and they've all happened here over the last 3 years.
It is amazing. And so what's kept you in it? What's kept you still going as these monumental changes have happened?
Scott, when I got out at Texas and went into TV, I really enjoyed TV. I had a new family. I had a new team. It was fun. But I lost my purpose, because for 50 years, my purpose has been to try to help young people, try to help the game of football. And when you think of 50 years of coaching out of your 72, and then you played a lot before that, football's been such a valuable part of my game. So my faith, my family, and football is what I do. And it's very, very powerful when you think you can get up every morning and you can change the direction in a positive way of some young person's life. You can help a young coach. All the older coaches helped me, and now I'm that guy. I'm the older guy. So I just want to give back. Sally and I want to give back to people. We want to help kids. We want to help the game. We're in a wonderful time in our life. We've had unbelievable experiences and met so many people through this business that we wouldn't have ever expected to. So it's our time now to give back.
How good are you on technology? Like, do you have younger staffers who help you, learn how to Snapchat or whatever?
I do, but I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
I've stayed in touch with it, and it's TV. I had to.
Right.
There was an expectation with ESPN, ABC that I was on Twitter and I was active and recruiting. You have to. So I really like it. I talk about the addictions now that we all have for phones and iPads and computers. I'm probably one of those, and I don't like it. I don't like to admit it, but when they come up with your screen time every Sunday, and I look at it and say, oh my God, I was on it that much during the week. But that's the way I get my information now.
Take us back a little bit to your childhood growing up. Tell me what that was like.
I was so blessed. I had mom and dad. I had an older brother and a younger brother growing up in a small town in Cookeville, Tennessee. My granddad was the high school football coach for years. Then he became the superintendent of schools while I was in school. My dad was a principal and then he owned the local sporting goods store. And I worked there every day, and we played basketball, baseball, and football, and had a wonderful community in Cookeville, Tennessee. So it was a very safe and blessed home, and I was lucky. Dad was really hard on us, but I realize now that it's because he loved us so much. And Mom was, she loved her children so much that whatever we did, it was somebody else's fault if we messed something up. So I do understand parents now and how much they love their kids, because I was very loved. And my granddad, who's the winningest high school football coach in the school history, was the love of my life, just my joy. So I learned to fish with him, and I spent so many hours with him, just him telling me stories. And I want to be the grandfather to my grandkids that he was to me.
What was his name?
Eddie Jelly Watson. And
Jelly?
Jelly, because he was speaking and somebody spilled a bowl of jelly on his lap right before he got up to speak. They said he wiped it off and he spoke.
Hey,
so he
good.
became Eddie Jelly Watson.
Able to be flexible in life.
Yes.
That's cool. And your older brother was Watson, if I'm remembering right. And so coaching was really in the family. He became a D1 head football coach too. Did you know in high school you wanted to do this?
I wanted to be a lawyer, and I went to Vanderbilt to be a lawyer. And then I realized that lawyers have to read a whole lot, and I didn't like to read. So that wasn't good. Yeah. I love Steve Sloan, who we just lost recently, and he was a great mentor of mine. My dad and my granddad were in the school business, so I wanted to coach, and my older brother wanted to coach, and he wanted to be a sports writer. Fred Russell was a great sports writer in the Nashville Tennessean. So my brother Watson went to Vanderbilt because of Fred Russell. And then we both ended up coaching for many, many years. So it's been such a blessing. My grandmother told me one time, be a doctor, a lawyer. There's lots of those. You have opportunities. There aren't many Mickey Mantles and Roger Marises. And she walked out. My granddad came in and said, boy, do what you like, because if you do that, you won't work a day in your life. So I think granddad was right.
Yeah, absolutely. We did an interview like this with Roy Williams, and he quoted almost the same line. It's in a country song now too, I think. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But so true. Sports writing much the same way. You probably didn't think at the time you would get rich at it. I assume the coaches in your family had not, right? They were high school level.
No, it's one of the wonderful things about being 72 and being back in coaching. I'm not worried about anything except the kids. Mm-hmm. And that's what I got into coaching for. You never thought you'd be a head coach. You never thought you'd make any money, and you never thought about it. And then all of that's happened for us. And I've got enough money, and I've got enough wins, but I want to help kids. And you can't help kids without winning. You can't keep your job without winning. So you have to win, and winning's important for them too, for their progress. College football's become more like the NFL and is every day. So we want to make sure that our kids have fun, more fun than anybody else in college football. We want to make sure everybody on our team graduates, because that's what they come here for. We want to win all the games, and we've won 9, we've won 8. That's not enough. We want to win all of them. And we want them to be better prepared for life when they get out of here. That's their goals. Their dreams would be to play in the NFL. Their dream would be to have a family like theirs. And their dream would be to have enough money that they can do what they want to do for them and their family. But you can't get to your dreams till you go through your goals, and that's just the way we run our program.
We'll be back right after this. Welcome back.
Tell me a little bit about this year's team. I'm sure your thoughts are on that a lot right now, but you're replacing Drake May, who's from our area and was a phenomenal player and will be a great NFL pro, I think.
May now takes the snap, tosses it to the end zone. It is caught for a touchdown.
Where does quarterback stand as you go into August, and where does the team stand, do you think?
Well, Scott, we've been so blessed since we've been here to have Sam Howell from Charlotte and Drake.
Yeah, we've given you two.
Yeah, we've had two of the best in the country, and now we're a little different. We've got a combination of Connor Harrell, who's been here, who was a valedictorian of his high school at Thompson, won 2 state championships. He's 25-2, played a little bit, not a whole lot, but got some experience. And then we bring in Max Johnson from A&M. He's thrown 90 balls in the SEC at both LSU and A&M, so he's been in big arenas, and he's different. He's 6'5". Connor's probably 6'1". One runs 4.4, the other probably runs 4.6. They're both really good players. And then you bring in a guy that was here before, Jacoby Criswell, and he was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Arkansas and played here, but he was behind Drake. Then he goes to Arkansas, transfers back to finish. He's got 2 years left. So we've got a really good quarterback room, but we've got to make sure that we can figure out how to give them enough quality snaps so we can separate them here, or they separate themselves before we start the season.
And the rest of the team, where do you stand? Is this a rebuilding year for UNC?
I don't think so. I think everybody else thinks so because of Drake. Defensively, we've got just about everybody back. We really lost Sid Gray, and he was the guy that went to the Titans. But we've got a lot of people back in our and on our defense. And Jeff Collins has come in, and he's blended very well with the defensive staff, and they're going to be aggressive. They're going to come after it. So I like what I see. And we haven't been good enough on defense. We've been good enough on offense. Our kicking game's been sporadic. We've been average at best on defense, sometimes bad. So we'll be better on defense. We're doing a better job coaching on offense. I do think, Scott, with transfer portal and NIL, everybody's going to be about alike, except this bunch that pays them all, and they're probably going to be better than the rest of us. We've got to do a better job coaching than ever before. So coaching matters. And I've told our guys that. Let's don't gripe about the system. Let's coach better. Offensively, you've got old Marion Hampton, who's one of the best backs in the country, arguably the best. You've got receivers that have played a lot, and then some very talented young ones. You got maybe the best tight end room in the country, led by Bryson Nesbitt, and then you've got John Copenhaver. And then you've got an offensive line that's rebuilt. We lost 4 of the 5 starters. They have a chance to be better than what we've had since we've been here for 5 years. So I really think that, and maybe with Drake and Sam being gone, we'll run the ball more, be more physical, and that'll help our defense. So I'm excited. And our bunch 2 years ago that started 9-1, I really liked that team. They were fun. We didn't finish like we wanted to, but we really started well. This team feels like that team as an attitude for me. They get along. They're working hard. They've got the chip on the shoulder because they know everybody thinks they're not any good. Right. So it's kind of a fun place to be.
I was actually born in Austin, Texas. Both my parents went to UT. So we have both Texas and North Carolina roots as yourself, as you do as well. But I think you've still coached more years at Texas than at UNC, barely, right?
I coached 16 at Texas, and this will be the 16th.
Oh, okay. So you're about to be 50-50.
At North Carolina, so I'm about to be even.
How about that? So do you consider yourself more of a Longhorn or a Tar Heel?
Yes. No, I'm really blessed. Going in the Hall of Fame was unique because they wanted you to go back to each school and say thank you to the administration, the players, the coaches that were there. So I really feel like App State's my school. That's where I started. And then Tulane was an extension. I was the athletics director and coach there. And then coming here in Texas. So very few people, Scott, get to be a head coach. So I was blessed to do that. Most people don't make it more than about 3 to 5 years. And here I am going on 36. So I love the places I've been. I love going back for those get-togethers and those parties with all the players. And I'm blessed to have been in 4 really, really good schools.
What do you tell people? I'm sure you're asked all the time, but what do you tell people, recruits, et cetera, when they ask you the retirement question now?
It gets asked before they say hello now. And
I bet. Right.
And I do think, as you said, Roy retires at 72. Coach Saban retires at 72. Villanova's coach Jay Wright retires. So a lot of people are saying, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm just not going to do it anymore. And to me, it's been more of I'm needed more right now than ever before. The game needs older people with experience that can help make some sense out of this stuff. The kids need a balance and they need a soothing, confident influence. And I'm a better coach now than I've ever been because I've still got my energy, but I've got more experience and more confidence than I've ever had. And that's where all this stuff comes together. So what I tell them is at Texas, I got tired 30 straight years, and I started talking about retirement. I started talking about what I'm going to do next. I started talking about who's going to take the job over and what do we do for the assistant coaches to help them. And when you do that, you're getting ready to be through. So we didn't do as well at the end. So when Sally and I got back in, we said, we're not going to think about it. We're not going to talk about it. We're just going to work our tail off. And then one day when it's best for the university and best for the kids, we'll know it and we'll just stop. But we're not going to prepare to stop. And I think that's a huge difference in where we are now and where we were then. We're offering 27 quarterbacks and running backs from the class of 27. Why would I be doing that if I'm thinking about quitting? Or why would I be up here working so hard? So when people come in, I tell the families, I know you're going to ask me if I'm going to quit because every coach has told you I'm going to quit. And I said, what a great compliment to me that they want me to quit. Before, I would just say, I can't believe they said that. Yeah. Really and truly, it's a great compliment. Yeah. They want me to quit.
They're wanting you out.
So that's a good thing.
When you do decide that it'll be sort of sudden at the end of a season like Roy did, or do you anticipate that you would say a year in advance as Coach K did and then have a year of people honoring Mack Brown at every, road stop?
No, I'm not an honor guy. Coaches have egos, and I've got one. I've got all that, but I'm not a guy that likes a lot of attention. I'd rather walk in the room and be quiet and be in the back, and people ask me questions and I can answer them. But I do think, since I'm not going to think about it at all, there will be a day that I'll get up and just say, I think it's best right now for North Carolina to transition to this, and then I'll do it. Mm-hmm. But I'll be in the mountains of North Carolina playing golf or fishing for trout or on the beach, and I'll be out of the way. But it was funny, Scott, and we used to have these Nike trips all the time. In fact, we took one this year, and there were about 30 coaches that had been to bowl games, and Nike would bring them on a trip for a week. And I always loved sitting and talking to Coach Paterno and Coach Bowden. Mm. And they were 84 and 85. And I said, what are you all doing? Yeah. You're still coaching. Yeah. What are you doing? And Coach Paterno said, I don't have anything to do. I have no hobbies. This is who I am. This is what I do. Right. And then we asked Coach Bowden, and it was really interesting. Coach Bowden said, the day I quit coaching, I don't have a purpose anymore. And the next significant day of my life will be my funeral. And
that's deep.
I've thought about that a lot. That's really deep. And it's not that way with me, but I will not have near the same purpose. And I can't help kids improve their lives and can't help them get better near as much as I can right now.
We'll be back right after this. Welcome back.
I'm going to ask you what the most memorable game you ever played in as a player was, and then what the most memorable game you ever coached in as a coach was. So let's start as a player. What game strikes you the most in college or high school or whenever that you ever played in?
We had a high school game. We were undefeated my junior year. My brother Watson was the quarterback. I was the tailback. And we were playing Clarksville in Tennessee Tech Stadium because Tennessee Tech's in Cookeville.
Yeah.
And it was a packed house, and it was a wonderful game. And it's one I'll always remember just because it was so big for that small community. And it's why I love all these small communities that Friday night is for high school football.
Did you win it? I assume you won it.
We did win it.
Yeah.
And they were really good, and it was a great game and one that I'll never forget. And then in college, there were some, but I stayed hurt in college all the time. I tell our players that I'm tough, but I couldn't stay healthy. So for the guys that are hurt all the time, and then I thought the coaches didn't care about me, and you get depressed some. And so as weird as it is that my career ended with too many knee operations, it's been a positive for me to be able to reach out to kids that are struggling and hurt and tell them I've been there.
Is that why you transferred from Vanderbilt to Florida State? Was it injury related or like you weren't playing enough? Or,
no, I was a starting tailback, and they actually lied to me, which is another thing that's really helped me in coaching. Is my brother Watson had hurt his knee. He was in the hospital. They told me to go tell him they were going to move him from quarterback to receiver, and he was a very highly recruited quarterback. So I did that. He got really mad at me, and then I went back and told the coaches. They went over and told him, no, Matt got it wrong. That's not what we said. So I said, that is what they said. So I walked in that day and quit. And that's one thing that I have assured coaches and parents, I will never lie to you because it was so hurtful. And then went to Florida State, and I got hurt in a pickup football game for a fraternity, and then kept playing and probably shouldn't have at that time. And then I've had 8 knee operations and 2 of them knee replacements. So so I can tell players, if you're struggling with injuries, don't play, because at 50 you're not going to be able to walk. We have rules. We'll never have a young man in a hospital without a coach going to see him. You're going to go see him, and you're going to talk to him right after the operation. You're going to stay in touch with him and make sure he's okay. And then never lie to a person, because sometimes, Scott, with young people especially, it's not what you say, it's what they hear.
Right.
And if they're in the head coach's office, they're really nervous.
Right.
So I will make them repeat to me now what they heard. And I'll say, no, that's not what I said at all. Let's do it again. Because I used to get calls from mothers saying, I can't believe you jumped on my kid. I said, that's not at all what I said. Not even close. And I always have somebody else in there with me. And I say, what did you hear? And what did you hear, to make sure we're all on the same page? Because I want them to understand I would never lie to anybody.
So the most memorable game you ever coached in was?
It's funny. The one from here would have been, it's in my 3rd year, and we're really struggling, and we're down, I think it was 24-10 to Wake Forest at halftime. And Bill Dooley's the coach, and I'm probably going to get fired that year if we don't win. And we come back and won the game 31-24. So people say, what game made the biggest difference to you? And I thought, probably that one, because I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
We played Navy, and they hadn't won a Division I game for like 3 years, and they beat us out here. And that was the worst day of my life for football, for a game was concerned. And then obviously you play for the national championship, and that whole year was magical, and you win it, and then you play for it again in 2010, and you lose it to Alabama. The game against USC would have to be arguably, because we won the national championship. And
4th and 5, the national championship on the line right here. He's going for the corner. He's got it.
I think there were 96 players on the field that night that played in the NFL at one time or another.
96?
And they had 2 Heisman Trophy winners, and it was a game that came down to the last 19 seconds. So it was just one of those games that Pete Carroll, they'd won 36 in a row, I think, and 2 national championships. And Matt Leinart and I are friends to this day. And he and Reggie Bush came to our locker room after the game to to knock on the door and say, we didn't get to see you on the field, but what a game. You deserve to win the game, and we just wanted to tell you congratulations. And Pete grabbed me after the game, Pete Carroll, and said, we're a good team, but we got beat by a champion tonight that's a better team. And I've always admired Pete so much for the way he handled not only that game, but that week in general. And even the year before, we'd played Michigan in the Rose Bowl for the first time Texas had ever played Michigan. And I've got Coach Royal and Coach Schembeckler out there as captains, honorary captains before the game. So that was a lot of fun as well.
Ryan Khalil, Southern Cal's center, I think that day, later was a Pro Bowler 5 times for the Panthers, and remembers it, of course, not quite as fondly. But didn't they go for a fourth down that y'all stopped them or something, right? And that allowed you to get the ball back? What do you remember most about your comeback and Vince Young scoring and all that?
We were down 12 points with 6 minutes and 42 seconds left in the game. And I remember Vince Young going up and down the sideline saying, we're not through, man, let's go. And then we come back and score quickly. And then they're driving the ball. There's 2 minutes left. And they're about the 49-yard line on our end going in. And it's a 4th down and 1 and some. And Lindell White's been running all over us. He's just been killing us. And we'd done a pretty good job with Reggie Bush because he won the Heisman instead of Vince. So our team was after Reggie. Yeah. And they went for the 4th and 1. And I remember Gene Chizik was our defensive coordinator. And I said, bring them all. Bring them all. And Gene said, what if they throw it? And I said, we'll pat them on the back and say, great win. If they make the first down, the game's going to be over because we're out of timeouts. And Michael Huff, who is a great player, he won the Thorpe Award, and he'll be in the National Football Hall of Fame. He comes through and hits Lindell, and I mean, it's about 6 inches short, and we could see it.
But Lindell White's in there. He's the power back. He gets it. He didn't get it.
And then we go down and score on 4th and 5 with 19 seconds left. And people say, you weren't very emotional on the sideline. I said, we got to kick it off to Reggie Bush, and there's 19 seconds left. So that's like eternity. So it was a lot of fun, and it was about 60% Texas fans because they'd never hadn't been to the national championship game in 35 years, and SC done it every year. And it was supposed to be a close game, but nobody thought we would win the game.
Yeah, that was I remember watching it on TV, and just a spectacular game. At UNC, why did you ultimately come back? You knew UNC was going to be a big challenge again. Likely, well, maybe that's arguable, but it's going to be pretty difficult to get back to a national championship game here. Why did you come back?
All right, now we're going to go live to that press conference where the University of North Carolina is introducing Mack Brown as the new head football coach. Let's listen in.
I felt after 5 years being out, every year somebody would call me and ask me if I would come and coach their team. And I liked it. And it worried Sally because she said, you're not through, are you? And I called Dick Vermeil when I quit and said, what do I say? And he says, don't ever say you're not going to coach again because coaches coach. And there might be a time, so you don't want to be a liar, that you said you weren't going to coach and you're doing this. So he said, just say that you don't know. You'll look at it. And every year there was a job, and Sally and I'd think about it. And we said, we don't want to live there. You can't win without cheating. We're not going to cheat. So it's just not our place. We came back here in, I guess, 2017 maybe. And it was as we were getting inducted into the Hall of Fame in 18. And this was one of the places we came back. We watched practice. I love Larry Fedora. I thought he was doing a great job. And then we had a get-together, and there were about 200 players that came. And we're walking out, and Sally says, I haven't seen you this happy since you quit coaching. If this job ever comes open, you should think about coming back here. And she laughed, and she said, and Sally's not a big jokester, but she said, all right, so you can coach in Hawaii. You can coach in the Bahamas. I said, they don't even have football. She said, we'll start a team, the Bahama Iguanas. or you can coach in Chapel Hill. That's the only places I'm moving to. And then when Larry and Bubba split ways, Bubba called me and said, do you want this job? And I called Sally and said, you said Hawaii, you said Bahamas. She said, let's do this. So I just told Bubba, I want to have a chance. It's a struggle. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed.
The UNC Board of Trustees is holding an emergency meeting where they are expected to discuss the return of Mack Brown to the Tar Heel sidelines. Now, Brown was one of the most successful head coaches in North Carolina history during his first stint in Chapel Hill from '88 to '97.
But I thought there was a better chance to win with the league now than it was before, because the league's better and everything would happen. And then we started so well. And then NIL set us back, and transfer portal. Transfer portal's hard on the academic schools because it's hard to get somebody in. And when you've got 28 sports, NIL's tough. Because you got so many sports, and they're all wanting money, and you've got donor fatigue.
I see.
And Scott,
so y'all don't have near as much money, you're saying, as some of the schools you said that spend a bunch. Is that
we
right?
don't, and we're doing better, and we're making progress. But we've told our alums for years, you can't have agents. Now every player's got an agent. In fact, we got in trouble for having agents at one point. And then we told them all, don't ever pay a recruit. Don't ever pay a player. You can't do it. Now we're saying, well, we were kidding. You got to pay players.
Feel free to pay players.
So our group has been a little bit slower to embrace. And I think we're seeing now that it's here. It's a new world, so it's going to have to happen. But we're coming to one collective now instead of having one for every team, because when somebody gets asked every day for money, they got caller ID. They don't want to see your number calling because they said, "Oh, Mack's calling. He wants money." So, but we're making progress now. I think NIL in general is going to level out. And it's going to come back through the university, and it's going to be more like the NFL with salary caps, and all of that will help get some of the parity back that we've lost.
We'll be back right after this. Welcome back.
Last thing, Coach, you saw the ACC in a very different form your first time through here. What do you think about the ACC's expansion, the possibility of Florida State and Clemson leaving, just sort of this uncertainty really around the ACC now based in Charlotte, and what football is going to look like in the next 5 or 10 years in this conference?
Scott, it was funny. In the early 90s, we weren't very good when I was here as the head coach. And I remember John Swafford being the athletics director, and John's a dear friend. He walked in and said, "What about Florida State coming into the league?" I said, "They're one of the top 4 teams in the country every year." I said, "Wait 5 years and we'll be good, but don't do it tomorrow." And he said, "Okay, it's not going to happen soon. Next year, Florida State's in," and then they just dominate.
Totally.
They just
the whole
took
90s,
over.
really.
They took over. They called it Florida State and the dwarfs, whatever the rest of us were. So that was tough. We were second about every year, but it didn't do us any good because we couldn't get to the playoffs, and we couldn't do the things that we needed to do. And then when we started looking at coming back, I thought everything's good, because I went through realignment in the Big 12. We were hours away from going to the Pac-12.
Really?
And they had talked to us about recruiting areas. They had talked to us about academics and travel and scheduling. And so, we were there. And then the Longhorn Network came in from ESPN right at the end and saved Texas and Texas Tech and Oklahoma State for the Big 12. But we were hours away from
the Pac-12.
The Pac-12. Now there's no Pac-12.
No Pac-12.
It's just so strange. And I worried that A&M's leaving for the SEC, then Texas isn't going to play A&M anymore. Colorado and Nebraska go to different leagues, and then they don't play anymore. Oklahoma and Nebraska are in different leagues, then they don't play anymore. So I hated that we were losing rivalries, because that's something we all grew up on. And we would all sit there on Thanksgiving, watch Texas and Texas A&M play.
Absolutely,
yeah. So then you get back here, and it's all about money, because with the new lawsuit with the NCAA, now sounds like you're going to have to come up with $21 million, and then $3 of that million may go back to the NCAA, and you've got to have $18 million to disperse within your sports. Don't know how they're going to do the separation. Where does the $18 million come from? We're at $21 million. I mean, you just say, okay, we need 21 more million. So are we going to see sports being cut? Are we going to see scholarships being cut and more club sports? Are we going to see personnel being cut? Where's that money going to come from? So that's what realignment is about.
Do you feel like UNC will ever leave the ACC?
I don't have any idea, but to say that anything is for sure for a long time. John Swofford did a great job many years ago of stabilizing the ACC, and now the grant of rights there is until 36. So what does that mean for Florida State? What does that mean for Clemson? If those two do leave the league, what does that mean for the rest of us? What the commissioner's been trying hard to figure out how to get more revenue. It's all about revenue. Everybody loves the ACC and would like to stay.
Sure.
But you got to have money. Yeah. You can't just say, I need $18 million more. Where's it going to come from? Do we not have leagues anymore? Do we simply have 4 divisions like the NFL? We don't know. We don't know where it's coming. So I think that it's kind of sad, but money's driving the realignment. And, Scott, football's the money right now. So football is driving the realignment, and that's why there's more pressure on guys like me. We need to win so we can make more money so our school can pay all the bills that we're having to pay.
Well, you've given us a lot to think about, Coach Mack Brown, and we just can't thank you enough for spending this time with us today.
Thank you, Scott. I've admired what you've done for years. And of course, I've watched it. You and I kind of grew up together here, and thank you for all you do for sports.
Thank you. That's Coach Mack Brown. I'm Scott Fowler. This is Sports Legends of the Carolinas.
Thanks so much for listening to Sports Legends of the Carolinas, a production of the Charlotte Observer. This show is produced by Lume Ali Sally, Jeff Seiner, and Cotta Stevens. The sports editor of the Charlotte Observer is Lydia Craver. The executive editor is Raina Cash. If you know a sports fan, we've got a great gift idea for you. We've compiled the first 2 seasons of the Sports Legends interviews into a coffee table book, which includes more than 100 rare photos. Among the 33 legends in the book are Steph Curry, Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Steve Spurrier, Jake Delhomme, and Dawn Staley. The first printing sold out quickly, but the book is back in stock now, and you can order a copy at sportslegendsbook.com. For lots more sports content, please visit charlotteobserver.com and consider a digital subscription. You can connect with me, Scott Fowler, by email at sfowler@charlotteobserver.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review the Sports Legends of the Carolinas podcast. Thanks for spending some time with us, and we'll see you next time.